Welcome, everyone, to the Sigma Show, episode 100, live from Milwaukee. I hope you heard it. These mics have been really strange and cutting people's audio and stuff. So I
Mostly
hope
mine.
that all made sense. Welcome, everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us for the 100th episode of the Sigma Show. I'm your host, Sigma. You can see who's next to me, but before I introduce them, real quick, we'll go over what our topic shall be for the week. First off, we got new footage for The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Actual gameplay stuff, about 13 minutes in total, looks like. We'll go over that, talk about whether we're excited or not. And finally, PlayStation VR 2 sales have not really been going well. So, Jack's being weird, right? that was happening.
Jack's frozen.
Jack's cam's frozen. Crap. Somebody just maybe rub the top of his head and it'll restart the computer. No.
No.
Yeah, so our final topic, PlayStation VR 2 is not selling well in this new age of VR technology. It seems to be kind of the odd duck alongside the metaverse. And AI seems to be reigning supreme. So I kind of want to get into a much grander talk about technology and the future of technology in general. But here, to join me and talk with me about these topics, we'll start from away from me, Jack Packard.
Hi, I'm Jack Packard. I'm not frozen, and yes, I was being weird.
Jesse Galena.
Hey, that's me. I have a fry in my mouth. Sorry.
And Amy Campbell.
That me. Hi.
Two of these folks you have probably never seen on this show before, and that's because this is their literal first time on the Sigma Show. Two people who I would have loved to have at any point in the past, but Jack's busy, and Amy literally lives on another planet or something.
It's 3 a.m. when this normally happens.
Yeah, we usually do this. Thanks for bringing that up, actually. We usually do this at 10:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. I am in Milwaukee with the Adventurers Nigh crew. We're shooting season 3 of Adventurers Nigh currently. We're halfway through the trip, and it's going well. We've been having a lot of fun.
Really well.
Been going a lot of fun.
This end, I guess.
But because of that, this is my first time meeting some of my coworkers that I've been working with for literal years. You guys cannot see them, but Omar is off screen, and a certain special someone who has carried the escapist on his shoulders is also off screen. But I will not name names just in case anyone wants to use that as a game to guess. But real quick, as we tend to do, we will go over not our topics. We'll go over kind of what we've been doing, playing, watching. But honestly, since we've been together for most of this week, we've been doing a lot of that stuff together. So I thought maybe we could go over some of the fun stuff we've gotten into during our trip so far. So does anybody want to chime in? Any memories from this past couple of days that really stick out that you want to get into?
Jesse and I played Magic and it was fun.
We did. And she won both games.
Amy trashed Jesse at Magic.
Yeah.
I
Go
was
on.
really proud of myself. His decks were very good. That sounds weird with my accent, but the decks were very good.
Jesse's got a good dick, you know what I'm saying? Plural, I have decks that are good.
Oh, no,
Congratulations.
that's a condition.
But no, it was really fun. I'm looking forward to playing some more and maybe winning, but either way, it's really fun because good decks as well.
So yeah, because both of you guys were talking a lot about Magic the Gathering before you got a chance to play against each other.
Oh, yeah.
Was there's something new happening in Magic recently, right? Was there some card release or
Always.
It's constant. It's constant.
Every 3 months, they're here's
Not
some new
less. Every 2-3 months. Yeah, there's a new release. I think they've accepted a new format that was a fan-made format called Oathbreaker. It's a riff on Commander, but with planeswalkers. It looks very cool.
Ooh.
I'll probably try it out at some point because I do love Commander. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. That was just a game-related thing.
Well, no, yeah, it's a game. It counts.
Yeah.
So, any other games before we get into some of the more physical activities,
playing a lot of D&D recently.
That's true. That is another game. But we cannot talk about the D&D that we have been playing, unfortunately.
We want to very badly.
Very badly. Because some
so
stuff is happening. But I don't know, Amy, I know you were back on Path of Exile for a little bit yesterday. We had some downtime. Amy was doing something very hardcore on her PC. There was an announcement in Path of Exile that you were like staying
Yes.
up for, right? What was that about?
So the new Path of Exile expansion comes out next week. So I was just jumping on for like one last hurrah with my characters from the league that's about to end. In preparation for Path of Exile Crucible. For anyone that does play, yes, I am wearing a Path of Exile shirt. I know there's a lot of people in the channels in like some of our other streams and that, like, hey, he was wearing a Path of Exile shirt. Yes, I really like the game.
Yeah, she talks about it constantly.
I talk about it all the time. It's constant. I literally called Alex last night so my partner back home, just so I could like talk to him about it. Like I have a problem. So yeah, I played a little bit of that. I've been playing some Kirby and the Forgotten World on the plane.
Forgotten Lands?
Forgotten Land? Is it Kirby and the Forgotten Land?
We forgot.
We forgot. No.
Oh, that damn land.
It's so good. Man, I love it. Oh, so good.
Nice.
So that's what I've been doing. Kirby and the Forgotten title. Yeah.
Yeah, Nick the OG with the burn. Kirby never saw it coming. Jesse has a mouthful of food. Jack.
I'm Jack.
Have you been playing anything interesting, watching anything interesting during this trip so far that you wanted to share with the class?
I haven't been playing a damn thing because I'm busy playing D&D and
Makes
then
sense. That checks out.
making maps. I downloaded Dredge today
Oh.
to play because I'm really excited to play that, and I can't play it because I have to make maps. But recently, I've been playing Super Mario Land 2 and the 6 golden coins.
Right. You mentioned that earlier today.
the original Game Boy game.
You have played that game before. You're playing it over now, or?
No, I've never played it before.
Oh, you've never played it before. Okay.
Never played it before.
Oh.
I've had it for a little bit because I was on a big Wario kick. I love WarioWare. Like, those like mini game compilations. WarioWare is one of my favorite games of all times. So I was just on a Wario general kick, and I found this copy of Super Mario Land 2, which is the first appearance of Wario in the Mario universe.
I did not know that actually. I thought he appeared in like the sports games as well.
Oh no, that's just Waluigi.
Yeah, but that's Waluigi's origin story.
And so I think it's a wonderful platform. I've been having a ton of fun since playing it. And so the way the game works is you have to collect a coin from one of the 6 lands to unlock your castle door, and then you take your castle back from Mario. And I'm going through all the lands, and they're so fun and so much joy and weird character designs. But the castle level is so difficult. I believe I have burned through 56 lives.
Jeez, so many.
And as soon as you get down to 0, you have to then retake all of the 6 coins because it's old school Nintendo hard. And so, like, if I get down to 10 lives, I actually go back and like grind up some coins to earn more lives.
Do you have any idea? Well, that what you said that was a Game Boy Advance game, right?
No. It is an original black and white Game Boy game.
Oh, OG game. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I am playing it on a Game Boy Advance.
Right.
Because they can do that. It is.
I was trying to think. So yeah, like that is old school style. So that's pre Super Nintendo style. Because like Super Mario World definitely would let you kind of have a save point. They put a battery in the cart for that purpose.
Yeah, and like you don't have to replay every level if you die, but you do need to replay each final level of each of the 6 worlds to get your coin back. Yeah. So, or you grind out, or you can grind out 999, regular coins in the level and get a whole bunch more lives. And that the castle level is kicking my ever-loving ass.
And so, Godspeed on that. You're almost done, I guess, right? That's the last thing in the game.
Apparently, hopefully, if there's any more, I won't win the game.
Just wait till Wario Phase 2.
Hell yeah.
Anything else in that realm? Like shows you've been watching that you want to share, or
no.
I mean,
shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, who has time for shows? We have Dungeons and Dragons.
That's true. So I knew this section would be probably a little tight. I have been playing a lot of Smash because it's an easy game to get into in the downtime here, but that's normal. But I will say I got to play Jack's son in Smash.
Oh, yes. It was fun to watch.
We had a quick best of 3. I did beat him both rounds.
Yeah, you kicked his ass.
I don't want to say I kicked his ass. Your son is really good. Like he's really, really good. But
I have a teenager. I have a teenager who has played a lot of Smash and has surpassed. I thought I was good at Smash at one point. I thought I was a pretty okay Smash player, and then as he started playing more, just surpassed me to a point where it was no longer fun to play. And I was really happy that someone could put him in his place. That helps.
King's Ed in chat says rematch: Jack's son versus Casey's. Yeah, my son would get trash. He likes it when games are easy and they let him win. So that was fun. Outside of that, I downloaded Destiny 2 because I desperately want to play it, but I've not gotten a chance yet because we are busy doing work out here. So hopefully I'll get a chance to jump into that the next down day we get. But Jesse, did you have anything you wanted to share, or you're still Big Mac?
What nation do Big Macs have? This is the slipperiest burger I've ever had in my life.
Thousand Island dressing and onions.
The secret is grease.
Oh, okay. It is good. I haven't had a Big Mac, and I'm not ever sure I've actually had a Big Mac before.
Oh.
And it is very tasty, but I can't hold it together. This is madness. I will say, on top of playing Magic, which I loved, and playing D&D, which I loved, I haven't played a whole lot else, except we did get to play Monikers on game night.
That was so much fun.
That was a lot of fun. If you missed that stream, please don't watch it. Actually, don't.
Absolutely
watch it.
Don't see what they made me do.
Watch the end.
Nature, you're the one.
You chose to
Who
do
was
that.
like-
How else was I gonna get the point across on my team who
Well,
literally
yeah,
did not know what I was
no.
doing after
Yeah.
the fact?
Yeah,
We knew what you were doing, and we loved it. We weren't on your team, though.
yeah. So we could
You
just
could
give you
have done
moral points.
pet detective. You could have been like, hey, like dog, and then like pet it. And like instead, and there were so many different actions you could have done that also demonstrate a pet detective.
But it's Ace Ventura. Like Pet Detective is like that's the furthest way. That would have took the most time to try to get them to get pet. See, Jack understands. He's an improv guy. Speaking of which, I can go ahead and say we got to see Comedy Sports live.
Mm-hmm.
It's where Jack does all his improv stuff. Jack was watching with us. He wasn't on stage, but his wife was, and she was great.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
she did really well.
She is very talented. Absolutely.
When did she must, because you explained like the whole process of how someone kind of comes up in a Comedy Sports league and whatnot. Did she go through all those steps as well, or did you kind of like nepotize her to the front of the line?
Get her on the inside track.
No, so we met in high school doing Comedy Sports.
Oh,
that's where
okay.
we
Wow.
first started dating. I'm a year older than she is, and so I was part of the Comedy Sports team in high school. And then when she was a freshman, she came and joined the team. And so we were doing it way back then.
Mm-hmm.
Cut to 30 years later, I started picking up classes again. Actually, after high school, she went to college in Madison and became a pro player over in Madison. So she is significantly more talented than I am.
Nice.
Which, no surprise. Am I right?
I mean, isn't that just wives in general?
That's just wives in general.
Yep.
Absolutely. So she was a pro player in Madison before moving back to Milwaukee. We fell off. Then recently, I picked it back up again, and she picked it back up again, and they asked us both to join the pro team. So,
Oh.
Yeah. So that was last night, right? Okay. It was such a blur. I was having such a great time. So that was a lot of fun. What else did we do? We tried cheese curds, which is supposed to be a
We did.
Wisconsin
So good.
staple.
very yum.
right.
They were
very
really
yummy.
good. What was the name of that restaurant?
We went to Vanguard.
Vanguard.
The specialty sausage restaurant. And I saw a lot of clean plates. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, food was really good.
Food
The
was-
vibe was really good. They were playing American Gladiator on the TV in there.
Yeah.
For some reason, like
Like
I was
old.
confused by it, but like
So old.
I loved it. Like I love that show.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. We still, I've seen a couple people in chat. We still have not seen the bronze fawns. To give you an idea
soon.
of how busy we are, it seems crazy because we're just playing games. We're playing games together, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get the production going, and so unfortunately, we haven't seen the bronze fawns yet.
But we still have time here. Like that's on the menu, as well as custard. We have to go
That's
get
Frozen
right.
custard.
Amy needs to take a picture in front of TJ Maxx.
Very important that I get that picture.
Yeah.
Apparently, they don't have TJ Maxx in
No,
Australia.
no, we do.
No, they do, but it goes by TK Maxx, which stands for clearly nothing.
Well, what does
Yeah, what
It's
is
it's a
TJ
dude.
stand for?
I don't know what TJ
the
stands for,
weirder
honestly.
one?
If I'm being honestly, I don't know what TJ
The
stands for.
weirder one is DSW is so weird
Designer
to me.
Shoe Warehouse. Yeah, they
Yeah.
have.
Whereas ours is just called FSW.
Anti-shoe warehouse?
I'm 99% sure, and if my dad is still in the chat, it's Frawley's Shoe Warehouse,
And
right?
who the F is Froley, right? Like,
Like, who
I
is
don't know that
Froley?
dude.
It's Forsaken Shoe
Forsaken.
Warehouse.
But man,
Uh,
it is not foot shoe.
Foot Shoe Warehouse.
It's not.
Foot shoe.
Well, that would distinguish
Good.
it from the hand shoe warehouse.
Yeah.
That just makes sense.
Okay, so I mean, well,
Oh,
there's
no, and they did. So they haven't seen the Bronfos chat, but they did meet Biscuit, my cat.
yes.
You did meet the cat.
I got a picture holding Biscuit.
It's a good picture.
I met
Put it
Biscuit, I
online.
met Cookie.
So what's more important, the Bronfons or my cat?
You saw all of Jack's basement Lego creations, which is fantastic.
So cool.
Really good.
Ridiculous.
One of the top 10 basements I've ever been in.
And-
Easily.
don't ask me for the rest of my list because I don't know. But all right, yeah, we can jump into the first topic here.
I gotta
Which
wash my
is,
hands.
Jesse's
but you can
gonna
still
go
say-
wash
you
his
can still say
hands.
the topic.
Which is Jesse's. No, Jesse's done. This is too hot topic. This is too controversial. Casey,
Ooh.
Jesse's out.
Yeah, Jesse does have a sort of disconnect with the Legend of Zelda series. So like, yeah, he might have been like hurt a little bit that
Sure.
this trailer has existed and he's just not familiar with it.
Okay.
But just this past week, we got a 13-minute trailer from Eiji Aonuma himself, going over some gameplay from the new Legend of Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom. I personally think it looked great. Like, I've been kind of really down on Breath of the Wild in terms of the look of it after years and years. Like, I don't think it's held up as well. graphically.
Heresy.
I'm sorry, have you played Genshin Impact?
I'm not down with that
Do you
weed shit.
think Jack and
I'm sorry. I'm not. Oh, did you play Little Girl Big Titty Zelda? No, I didn't.
I love that game.
You don't need to actually play it. Just look at it and then look at Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild afterwards, and you'll be like, oh shoot, this
Legend
is
of
real
Zelda.
muddy.
Breath of the Wild still looks good.
It looks good, but in comparison to like what other games of its kind could look like, it is a disappointment in my eyes. But I will say that Tears of the Kingdom has figured out a way to push a little more out of the Switch because those trailers looked good to me.
They do.
Like they were visually kind of stunning, but they showed off a lot of gameplay stuff.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys get into it. Like what struck you in that trailer that kind of made you excited? I saw Jesse in particular was like really getting his eyes blown up.
Well, because I haven't played Breath of the Wild. You might
Right.
mention that when I was out of the room.
Yeah.
I heard you talking smack, but I didn't hear what you said. But yeah, I haven't played that, and so it looks like an open world game, which generally does not interest me. But like the fuse mechanic looked really cool, where it's like, oh, put stuff together to make weapon, put stuff together to make boat, put stuff together. It's like, okay, yeah, sure,
Make
boat. And then like there was one that lets you teleport anywhere where there's a ceiling, so you don't have to climb, and like a lot of little things like that that just like it made it feel more like a puzzle game, and it was giving you tools to figure it out in your own way, and that sounded interesting to me.
It honestly sounds like you would like Breath of the Wild because this is kind of more of that. Like these are new mechanics in this sequel, but the first game had like stuff like that as well, where you interact and can figure out how to solve puzzles in multiple ways, just using kind of the elements that exist in the world.
Maybe I gotta get Breath of the Wild.
I think
You
might have to get
really
Breath of the
do.
Wild.
It's really the game. It's the
The
game.
game.
The
to
game.
play. Yes, it's shocking. It's shocking to me that anyone wouldn't have played it and loved it. If you,
I
if you
also
have a
haven't
Switch.
played it.
Fucking fuck. AC, can we swear?
Oh, you can swear.
Okay,
It's fine.
great.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's the game. Do you have a Switch? Then fucking play the game.
Like, did you not have
Still
interest
$60.
in the
It's
Zelda
still
series prior to the Switch?
Yeah, I've had other Nintendo consoles.
Mhm,
Like loved my Wii. The Wii was great.
Yes.
I have never played a Zelda game. It's not been something that's overly interested me. Like, there's never been anything that's gripped me to be like, I need to go and invest time in it.
Okay.
So I've just not gotten around to it. But I also did primarily start as like a PlayStation kid. So I was too
That
busy
makes
playing
sense.
all like the PlayStation
That tracks.
mascots.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so by the time I was then older, there's then already so much to catch up on at that point
Fair.
that I've just never gone back through any Zeldas.
Yep.
It doesn't mean it's completely off the table. It's just never interested me so much that I'm like, you know what I need to do? I
Yeah,
put my
I need
hands
to
on
start
some Zelda.
that Zelda series, right? Yeah. I personally think many of them still hold up. Like you could go back. Definitely don't go back to the first one, like the NES Zelda. That one is not one of the ones that hold up. But like SNES, if you start on like Link to the Past, you'll probably get the vibe of what the series is. Or Ocarina of Time, that might be a little rough because it's kind of it's early N64, early 3D in general. So like Wind Waker, if you really want to try a 3D one, would probably be the better place to start. But like honestly, the way Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom is set up, and the way the series is set up in general, you can start at anyone. And if the trailer enticed you, I would say go do it, go play it.
The thing is, I know I'd like it. Like, there's nothing about me that's thinking, oh, maybe I'm on the fence. Like, I know it's a game I'd love. I still think Immortals Fenyx Rising is one of the best games I've ever played.
Yeah, and that's a derivative,
and
right?
it's just that. Like, it's just the same thing. I know.
Immortals Phoenix Rising was so bland.
I loved it.
It was
I
so,
loved
well,
it.
it's because you haven't played once you play Breath of the Wild, you'll just go, oh my God, this is what I was missing in Immortals Phoenix Rising. It's like never having chocolate. And then all of a sudden you have a piece of, oh my God, everything I've ever had sweet before is no longer relevant because now I've had chocolate.
I mean, there's some truth to that. Like I played Breath of the Wild first and then played Phoenix Rising, not all the way to completion, but like I could see what's fun about it. It does some things a little differently.
I really loved the story though. Like that's so silly, but I liked the characterization of Phoenix and the journey they go on. And that to me is just what kept me just coming back and having a delightful time with that game. And the way all the characters interact and the way it depicts the gods, there was just something in it for me that I just adored. Whereas Zelda, I'm like, I don't know, Link save Zelda, cool. Like, I don't know. I don't know what Link be doing.
Link do be saving Zelda. You kind of encapsulated it.
Link be doing whatever you want Link be doing.
And in fact, I actually have it at home. I think Alex has it as well.
It's just there.
We've just not gotten around to
The
it.
disrespect.
Like, there's literally no excuse.
Yeah, I have to buy it. You have access to it.
I'm pretty sure we have it. I'm pretty sure we have it.
And it is an investment. Obviously, it is a big open world game. If you want to really dig into it, it's, a 20, 40 hour investment. I think it's incredibly worth it, besides a few nitpick mechanics that I have with it. And to me, it's one of those examples of a game that themes the story and the gameplay elements together. It fuses them together in such a way, whereas as you are exploring Hyrule, so is Link, and remembering all of these things. There's a memory. You find special sites that unlock your memory, that unlock story sections, and gives you.
Okay, that's fun.
It's honestly, if you find all of them, it turns into this really beautiful, deeply sad thing.
Yeah, it's a pretty sad game story. There's a little bit of backstory in Hyrule Warriors, like the Musou-like game.
Yes.
Like that tells a little bit more of like the history of that particular brand of Zelda. And funnily enough, Tears of the Kingdom is like a direct sequel, it seems like, to Breath of the Wild, which is something they haven't done since Majora's Mask, I guess, was the first time they did it. But I think
the Legend of Zelda 2,
that was a direct sequel.
Link's Adventure I believe was a direct sequel.
Like story-wise, it was the same Link from.
It was a direct sequel because it was the minions of Ganon were trying to resurrect him after you defeated him in the first Zelda.
Okay.
And then Majora's Mask, takes place right after Ocarina.
Right. And I think some of the DS ones were sort of loosely connected like that too, like Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass.
Yeah, Phantom Hourglass takes place after Wind Waker. You get kicked off a boat and into a different world, I believe. But it's been a while. I love Phantom Hourglass. That was a favorite.
Yeah, that one was good. But yeah, so I'm kind of all in on the Zelda thing. As some folks who know me might have guessed, it's probably one of my favorite franchises, one of my favorite characters in video games. Period. But this new game, it's introducing mechanics that, like the last one, just haven't existed in a Zelda game before.
Yeah.
But it is overall just more of the Breath of the Wild formula, which
Mhm.
was very good. Like it kind of opened up a bunch of people's eyes to like what more could be done in open world.
Yeah.
Um, in the same breath, so did Elden Ring.
Mm.
So it's like they feel very different, even though they're kind of playing in the same play space. Like,
Sure.
do you think that this has the potential to kind of capture people the same way Elden Ring has now, which did come out after Breath of the Wild? But Amy is shaking her head.
My only reason being, Elden Ring was available on PC and console. Once you're limited to one console only, you instantly lose a market that
That's just math.
that then allows it to inspire more
Yeah.
devs or more designers and creatives. It, it's a numbers game at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, no, that's a
Unless
really good
it's
point.
genuinely like mind-bogglingly brilliant. But even in the same breath, like I've been talking about playing Kirby, and I think the mouthful mode mechanic and how they use it is just fucking genius. And like I just think it's brilliant.
I also love it that you're very seriously talking about the mouthful mode mechanic.
Mouthful mode. I booted that game up because Alex came home and he's like, I bought you Kirby. I know you've been really wanting to play. And I was like, and I got so excited. And I was like, slam, booted it up. And I was like in tears. I'm like, this is brilliant.
Like,
The mechanics, the design are just brilliant. And I will be curious to see if anyone takes inspiration from that because I think it's brilliantly designed. Unlocks everything.
Did you play Mario Odyssey?
No.
No, because I wanted to ask.
I've never really played any of the Nintendo mascots. Like, the more we dig into this, outside of Pokemon, I've never really played the Nintendo mascots.
Sure.
Which have obviously inspired so many other things.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just not something I've gotten around to, though.
Mm.
Yeah, because I'm just curious, like, because I watched Marty play a big chunk of that game, and those Kirby games get really wild towards the end, just in general. But like that mouthful mode seemed like it was like, oh, let's borrow the Mario Odyssey formula, because like Mario was literally doing the same thing, throwing his hat and kind of possessing things in the environment.
I think the word you're looking for is mind rape.
That was it. That was what I was thinking.
You got it.
Without their consent, he was taking over their body.
Yeah, Mario was committing crimes.
It's a parasite.
Like at least with Kirby,
fungal parasites.
At least, honestly, like that whole thing fits better with Kirby because Kirby tends to just eat his enemies and absorb their abilities anyway.
Which is so messed up and weird, but he's an eldritch horror in this weird way.
Yes.
And so he then just waddles around with the bone in his tummy, and I just think it's incredible. I love it.
So any other insights in regards to that trailer? Anything that gets you excited that you wanted to point out?
Like the thing about Breath of the Wild, one of the most controversial mechanics with Breath of the Wild is weapon degradation. Your weapons break after you use them, and there's no way to repair them. They just break forever. But what that can lead to is incredibly cinematic moments that take place only through gameplay, where you know your sword is about to break. So instead of just letting it break or chucking it away, you throw it at the enemy. It smashes on the enemy. You quick go through the menu, pull out another sword, and keep fighting all within the gameplay. No cutscene, no nothing, and it makes you think on your feet. It makes you react in different ways to a fight, to climbing, to the different mechanics, and that leads to some really neat moments. And I'm hoping that this fuse mechanic does the same thing, where you're, especially early game, you're struggling for weapons, so you just grab the stick and the rock making the hammer. That looked awesome, right? Yeah. Where you just start grabbing shit, smushing it together, and throwing it at enemies, giving you those anime cinematic moments that we're all looking for, only within the gameplay, which that's what I'm all about. I don't want cutscenes telling me how cool I am. I want to do cool things.
Yeah, the thing that has really kind of given the first game a long tail is how crazy you can get with the mechanics that existed. Like folks would create speed runs where they'd knock a boulder using like the stasis power halfway across the map with the in-game physics, or they'd solve puzzles by like using their own weapons to conduct electricity, like just really, really weird nonsense that would like crazy skill shots. Like they'd launch a freaking spider guardian thing like in the air and then shoot an arrow like hundreds of feet to like just amazing skill shot stuff. And Nintendo given even more stuff to that puzzle.
Yes.
Which I'm assuming because the trailer didn't necessarily say that the old stuff was in there.
Yeah.
But like, I'd be surprised if it wasn't, to be honest. But like, just throwing more stuff to that sandbox, like they know what they had. Like they built that system. They knew players would go wild with it, and they did. So now they're like, how much more can we add to this? And the stuff they chose is like exponentially better than like something outside of that camp probably would have come up with.
Right.
So like it's genuinely exciting.
Absolutely. Like they saw what the community was doing. Like the way that the community was making floating rafts just out of like random enemies and like a leaf, where they were making their own hot air balloons, even though they were not supposed to do that. And so Nintendo said, well, fuck it. We'll just let them make hot air balloons, but with real stuff now. Like they are rolling with this system, and hopefully, like they're just giving us more things to play with. Yeah,
I like that
so
idea.
it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So any final thoughts on this before we move on to our final topic?
I'm excited.
I might try it. I'm even gonna check it. I might have even brought the game with me here. I have no idea.
You have a 46-hour flight home. So if you just half of that is just finishing.
Yeah,
Breath
done.
of the Wild.
Easy.
You're good
Easy.
to go.
Yeah, just try it out. If
Yeah.
if early on you're like, I want to play something else, then fine. You can go back to it. You can go back to your not to play locker for however many years it takes you to jump back into it. But like if it hooks you, like it's gonna hook you.
If you did bring it and you're not going to play, you can let me borrow it, and I'll give it a try.
There's an option.
If I really like it, I'll buy my own copy while you know.
Real quick, Grace with you in the chat. Hi, Rachel. Welcome. She's asking, what Force Amy to Play series can I ride shotgun on? I don't see Amy enough.
I know I miss you. Oh Lord, who knows? Who knows? Who knows what you could force me to play next? That's a real question.
Like she's gonna be doing the Disney stream
Yes.
with Frost soon.
Yes.
So if you have any special knowledge in regards to just Disney video games or media, like ask them. Maybe you can ride shotgun.
Let me
on
know.
that.
Let me know.
I'm sure they would love to have you.
Honey, man, I'm never touching horror. I'm just not doing it.
Horror stuff.
You cannot pay me enough to do that. Like literally, you actually can't. I'm not doing it.
Hard Revenge is asking, does Disney include Kingdom Hearts?
Oh, man.
You cannot pay me enough.
Do you not believe in friendship and the power of light over darkness?
I believe in a clear and concise story, so I will.
You're not getting that in Kingdom
ever
Hearts.
play.
That is for
Kingdom
sure.
Hearts.
It's totally clear and concise. It's Sora's gotta help people and stuff happens. That's all you need to know.
And-
Stuff happens.
Dot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Kingdom Hearts. That's all you need to know.
And then
I
that
don't
kingdom,
know-
it get hearts.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain that any simpler.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Never mind. You've turned me around.
Okay, good. I shouldn't have. That story is bananas. It is absolutely insane.
No, that's okay. I was lying.
Okay, so we can move to our final topic here, which is essentially it's a grander topic than like the thing that's working as a catalyst. But some numbers or some sales data seems to suggest that Sony's PlayStation VR 2 headset, which is just released or is just about to release, I think it's just released, right? It's out now.
I think the fact that you're not sure
It
is
is
a
out.
bad
It
omen.
is
Yeah,
out.
I mean, it's kind of about it.
It is out.
It just released. It's out. It's not selling well. It's extremely expensive. Last
Yeah.
I checked,
Mm.
about 500 US, like 600.
It's nice for you.
Yeah, it's more than that in Australia, and that's just the unit itself. It still does require a $500, now $550. I just because Sony increased the price of the PS5 not that long ago. It still requires that thing in order to actually function because you cannot hook it up to a computer or it doesn't work standalone. And though folks are saying that it's probably the highest quality VR experience on the market right now, hardware doesn't seem to be there for it yet. And also just kind of the gall to release something this expensive seems just like a bad idea. So Microsoft, who famously kind of said that they weren't focusing on VR when they were getting ready to launch the Xbox Series X and S, seem to have made the right decision. They have all their cloud stuff going on. They're expanding their online, their Game Pass library, and this will probably be a giant hardware hit for Sony. So I'm curious, was this the wrong? It seems like the wrong call, but like Jack, I know you have been kind of a wait and see kind of you've had a wait and see approach when it comes to VR, though you are kind of a fan of it.
The few VR things I have gotten to play, I have generally enjoyed.
Right.
I am incredibly skeptical about VR in general. I don't think, like for me, I don't want to strap something to my face to play a game. You know, like even though the few VR games I have played, I have enjoyed. I don't. I think it is cost prohibitive. I think it's hardware prohibitive. I don't think there's enough options. I don't think there's enough hardware out there for people. And it's space prohibitive because most VR headsets need external sensors still, or at least, you know, the more expensive ones. So I have always been of the mindset that this is never going to take off in a
like a gaming space or like a
popular in a pop space,
like
you know,
mainstream.
I thought we were getting close with the what was the Facebook one?
Meta Quest, because I actually bought one this past Black Friday.
Yeah, like I think we came close with Meta, where people were like, "Oh, this is cheap. I don't have to hook this up.
No
to
wires.
computer."
It's kind of a self-contained thing.
Like I know people who aren't necessarily gamers who bought that, you know, played a couple games and had a great time, and then it's now collecting dust because people don't want to strap shit to their face.
I don't know if it's the strap shit to their face thing as much as the experience thing. Because like if they had more things that made them want to do that, then they probably would. But it's like there's Beat Saber, which is like kind of a must-have.
Yeah,
and then there's right?
Your RE4 VR
Well, yeah,
is really great.
Yeah, I've heard it's great too, but like I don't think that's a
hot game though.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a console seller, right?
Pistol Whip's a lot of fun. Really,
Yeah,
like
there are a lot of like fun experiences, but there's nothing that moves the needle like the next God of War and the thing is, PlayStation is trying to do that, right? Like they have a Horizon experience that's supposed to be for the PlayStation VR 2. Not the franchise I'd have chosen to leave that, but it does make sense gameplay wise. I'm just curious. Like it seems kind of baffling to me that Sony would dump this much effort into this project. Like it's almost like they're kind of blinded by their success, that they kind of don't see themselves failing regardless.
Assuming that their success metric here is sell a ton of units, and maybe that's not necessarily what they're going for. Like we have no idea what their intention is with this piece of hardware and software. Because I love Horizon. When I saw Call of the Mountain, I was like, I would instantly buy this. And then I saw the price in Australia and went, if this had been $200, $300 cheaper, I would have instantly bought it. It being $1,000 in Australia is too much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's $1,000 for us. I think it's about $950 for plus Call of the Horizon, or like just under $900 without it. And it's just too much to justify it as people that also have a MetaQuest, or a Quest 2, or whatever. We have something, and we use it a reasonable amount. And it's fun and it's hard, but you need time, you need setup time, you need open space, as people have mentioned in chat as well. Like, there's a lot of challenges to get into it from that. And the PSVR 2, that's another one. Like the space was a really big one because I said to Alex, because there was like a deal going and we were like, oh, we can get it for like 800, maybe we'll consider it.
Sure.
And then I said, well, how long's the cable? Like it has to be attached to the PlayStation, right? And he said, yeah. And I'm like, we can't fit it in the room that our PlayStation's in.
Right.
In our current space. And we were like, well, we now can't have it.
Yeah.
So to come back to the fact that like they haven't sold a lot of units, the barrier to entry here was exorbitant. Like the price was so high. Like so high that even someone like myself, her and her partner would have instantly bought it.
Yeah, like it appealed directly to you.
It appealed directly to us.
And
we
it's still,
you know. So it depends what the success metric here is. have they been able to create some interesting pieces of software and help start pushing it forward internally? Maybe that's all they're needing to do, and the selling point is a benefit. Of course, with any capitalist society product of this scale, yes, they're going to want to sell units. But I'm thinking, it's only been out for maybe, 3 months? 2 months? Not
Sure.
even. I think about 2 months. I don't think this is something that they were saying, like, from the minute it comes out, it's going to be huge. I think this is something they're expecting a much longer tail on.
Sure.
Because even getting, like, Sony dev hands on this, and from stories I've heard from friends that are fellow developers, there's a lot of things that Sony cracked down on hard, and there's a lot of things that are hard to develop for with their software and that. So I don't know, I just feel like it could be something that has a longer tail, and it's more like, when we look at the sales metrics for it, it's almost worth looking a little bit further down the pipeline in this particular instance.
That's a really good point, and the fact that they released it at such a ridiculous price point could also serve to be like, well, sure, we're going to do this because we have plans for it, but we're not going to take a loss. Like, if it costs X amount to make, then we'll make money back on everyone that we release.
Sure.
I think they did say something about scaling down how many they were going to produce some time ago, because like pre-orders weren't where they thought they would be. So again, that kind of served the purpose of being like, all right, well, for some reason, some part of their grand scheme involves VR, but they, or at least they were buying into this perhaps metaverse future a bit, and they wanted to at least have, their stake of it at the ready. But that kind of leans a little into the next part of this discussion, which is that metaverses in general and VR kind of just all seem to be failing and on decline.
I think this is a lot of tech people smelling their own farts. Like, if I can use this metaphor correctly, which is just like those of us who pay attention to video games, and we, like, this is our lives. We are up on the news, we are up on the technology, we are paying attention to this. And so for us, VR has been the hot talking point for years. You know who's never heard about VR? My mom. Right? And my mom bought a Wii when it came out because it had Wii bowling, and she wanted to have bowling at her house.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think the tech industry and the gaming industry has been sniffing their farts for so long that they say everyone loves this smell.
Right.
And
I can see that.
Aren't getting a proper gauge of what average Joe consumer wants. And I do not believe they want to strap farts to their face.
It's so interesting. You make such an interesting point, though, with the Wii. And your mum knew nothing, saw that she could have, hey, Mum, we have bowling at home.
Yes.
That's always gone so
I've
well.
heard of Nintendo before. I buy my Wii and I can play just that on it.
Yeah.
Incredible. And coming back to what you said of like the barrier to entry with the PSVR was you also needed what we had to pay at launch, which was like $850 for a PS5.
God,
That was how much we had to pay for a physical edition PS5 in New Zealand, because I was living there at the time. Again, cheaper in Australia. Different story. So you had to buy the console, and then you have that, and so you go like you're not paying attention to it, and the ads aren't being thrown on your screens if you aren't already kind of in that ecosystem.
Yeah.
But if it was Sony's standalone, you don't need a PS5 to play it, but this is our Sony version, where you can play bowling. Or you can play
Beat Saber, like show my mom Beat Saber. Oh, she might be down. Absolutely.
Whereas when it comes to a MetaQuest or an Oculus, or like people haven't heard of that. Like your average person doesn't know what that is, but your average person goes, "Oh, it's a PlayStation one, and I can move my hands with it. I'll try it."
Exactly.
And I think that's a really interesting point. Like, there's no particular reason it had to be connected to the console. Like, there's no real reason. Like we're past that now.
Yeah, Sony is an electronics company. Like,
you can do that.
They don't just do video games. They could have just released a VR headset as a mainstream device that had nothing to do with PlayStation.
Well, it still could have been a PlayStation VR, but it just didn't have
to be having it hooked to the actual console. It was, again, it's almost like they they don't care about it. They're like, look, we can do this because we just want to get a foot in the door. But also, they're afraid for it to fail because they're like, well, our PS5 is the most popular thing we do. Well, the PlayStation is the most popular thing we do. It's the most popular brand. It always sells. People are evangelizing it. Tie into that, it can't do wrong. And they're maybe learning a lesson here, even though the consumer generally don't like to teach that lesson. Like Nintendo fans and Sony fans are very similar in that regard. Like they will just buy anything they release. But these other barriers, like the fact that Sony is unwilling to really take a gamble on this, is kind of shooting them in the foot if they did in fact want this to succeed.
No, I feel like if they're releasing a piece of hardware, they're taking the gamble on it. Like they may not be throwing as much at it at the moment as they could, but again, when you were saying with a long tail, that might be very purposeful. And with the PlayStation library, they could offer a lot of things that on the extended period, it's like, oh, that is worth it. Like, especially if they do things kind of like what they're doing with Horizon, where you have side-by-side release, where you have, the new Horizon game. That was fun, right? Well, there's also some extra stuff that's only on PSVR. Sure, you can get the regular game, but this one's extra fun. Boy howdy, if the new Twisted Metal game comes out and it's got VR, that's gonna be a pretty big thing for me. I'm real excited about. But so like they've got the possibility, and I think that they just aren't putting it all in the VR basket like Facebook gaming is.
Right.
And so it's I feel like just with VR in general, it almost feels like, and I don't know the minds behind it, but kind of what you were saying of everybody smelling their own farts.
Let's just say that as many times as
Yeah,
possible.
absolutely.
The more we can say it, the better.
It's
this will
probably
be.
the episode title
Probably
for
is.
100, honestly.
Strap it to your face.
Strap that fart to your face.
Yeah. But that thing of like, it seems like VR currently, and like for a number of years, is developed by people with money making in mind, not people with artistic expression in mind. And that if the sole reason of we're going to make this is to make money, you're not going to attract people to it because you're not making a product that people want. You're making a product you want to sell. Right. And that's failed the video game market before.
But you're doing so in in a creative industry.
Right.
Right.
So they need to produce games that are there for the experience. Like
that's where you need to take so many steps back though and go, okay, there's X developers in the world. Sony have quite a large number of studios that work exclusively, that are first party studios, and even second party studios. But they're already making the big things that we as gamers all know. So if you have an indie person turn around and go, I want to make a VR game and I want some publishing and marketing help, it would be so much harder to get your foot in the door at Sony than it would be to get it in with anyone else. And even then, there would be all sorts of things that would make it even more challenging to develop for, particularly, again, it being VR. So the people that are making VR are a different kind of group of devs and creatives. And so being able to produce things for that software is going to be challenging off the bat. Because your local indie dev, it's going to be much easier for them to do it for an Oculus or something. Because imagine trying to get a VR PS kit.
Yeah.
You know, like you have to think about the barrier to entry from a dev perspective too.
Well, then that's what Sony should be focusing on. If they want to make VR a big part of it, they need to spend more money and reach out to those developers to say, please make cool shit. Make the next Wii Bowling, but for us, right?
We'll help you with publishing. We'll put you on the storefront.
Right. Well, we'll pay your rent for a couple months. Just please, just make us cool shit so we have the shit. Shit, not farts.
Yeah.
Very different.
You
Still
need
smelly,
shit,
but
not
different.
farts. That this all kind of does lead credence to, well, then maybe Sony is thinking a little further ahead then, because
It would be my guess. Because again, the lineup for PSVR 2 at launch was minimal at best, to put it politely. And
How would you put
That
it
was
rudely?
very politely. Yeah.
and you like, I know it's everyone just starts to roll their eyes at this point, but development for everyone, and we're still seeing the ramifications of that now. Developing games over the last 3 or 4 years, people's timelines have been pushed back so much further than you ever could have imagined. If they weren't equipped to work from home, or if they then got forced to all move into an office, and then now more people are at it. Like, there's a whole range of factors that have made this significantly harder than we do give it credit for. Like, it does feel like an eye roll at this point, but it is so much harder than people are really talking about. And if you're not one of the big studios, and they were already working on big projects as far as we know, but who's to say Insomniac isn't making one? Who's to say that Sucker Punch isn't making one? Like, who's to say that all of those studios, like, we only know that Sucker Punch is making a Ghost of Tsushima 2. There's no reason there's not a second internal dev team that's making a VR game, but any number of things could have happened with the development of that console that means they had to pull it back a little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
And that those games are all coming out in 6 to 12 months. But Sony as a company probably said this is the deadline that this piece of hardware is getting released because it's ready. And this is financially when we need to have it out the door and not in R&D.
right.
And there's so many factors that influence all of that. I am not a corporate mind. I am a creative mind. So I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that back and forth between corporate and creative, that's kind of what this pull is, because like, yeah, to further any technology, you need money. That's where the corporate stuff comes from. But then you need the creative tech guys to make it valuable. And like, VR keeps failing on that front. I guess we're trying to push video games, because video games are great. They're one of the greatest creative creations of like the century, right? But video games in VR are not the ideal way to play video games and experience video games, right? Like, still sit in front of your computer or your console is probably the best way to do that. So like, what should VR be focusing on? Because the other side of that is a metaverse that no one wants to mess around with. Like, that keeps being the thing that gets pushed outside of games, but like, no one is there. There's nothing there.
Well, I wanted to say this earlier before you brought up like the metaverse and that. And it's like, oh, well, then what's VR being used for? Potentially Sony are mass selling these, or have a deal to be selling it to every VR house that's a fun experience you go to on the weekend for 2 hours with your friends. Like, we have no idea. We have no idea. They could potentially be planning on doing that, on being the premier service for a whole range of, like, we have tons of those where I'm from. Like, I don't know if you have more, like, you know, a VR place where you go for like a VR experience or a VR.
There's a couple.
We have one.
You have one?
Yeah.
You have one. We have
In
quite
the
a few.
whole U.S.
We have one whole United
Yeah.
States of America.
They got a pretty long line.
But, you know, there's potentially something like that where that's a thing that people are working towards, where they're selling them en masse to a company. That being said, I don't know if anyone else has experienced this at airports. I've been in a lot of airports, and this didn't necessarily happen on my way here. But the webcam things that were, not even the webcams, but like the webcam and the sensor that was specifically used for like Xbox Connect Live.
Yeah.
You know those?
Yeah.
So they're now used to scan your luggage tags in airports in Australia.
Really?
Yep. That's what they're used for.
Just a big old Kinect. Just
Yep, the Kinect cameras, like they are absolutely Kinect cameras, and like the Kinect sensor bars. And the first time I put one down, my partner was with me, and I looked at him and I went, "No," and he goes, "What?" And I'm like, "What's that?" And he goes, "Oh my god!" And like, realization, and you think, you know, technology all goes to die somewhere. It's not completely getting thrown out.
But I mean, at least it's being used. Because I was a fan of the second Kinect. Like, I thought it did some cool stuff. I really liked a lot of the voice control, whatever. But yeah, like, people didn't make experiences that catered to it. Like, I like the idea of VR. Like, I think VR could be fun, but as it exists today, it has, you know, one-off experiences, but it's definitely not revolutionizing anything. Like, like the next step in terms of like internet and technology currently seems to be AI.
I think that's part of the problem with both development and expectations is that it's supposed to be a next step or a mind-blowing thing.
Right.
Like, video games didn't do that. Like, we had arcade games and then they brought to the home console and people were like, this is great. It didn't revolutionize. Like, oh, you can do it at home. That's neat. But it wasn't a
Didn't
new
it, though?
experience. But it wasn't a new experience. It was still Pac-Man. You could do it at home now, and that's cool. But
I disagree. I think
VR
as the old man, as someone who grew up without video games, it was a huge deal.
Yeah, like I feel like it was like Pac-Man fever is a thing.
But
Like,
the huge deal wasn't that it was new. Like, it was still Pac-Man. It was the games, a lot of the games you were already familiar with, correct? Like
The fact that you can play video games in your house was a big deal.
Yes, that being a big deal.
Yeah.
But that it wasn't a new thing. It wasn't some of the games are new. But like that.
So you're saying like the big revolution wasn't video games themselves, but video games being shrunk down and made available to the home?
Right. And so saying like VR needs to be this next huge thing when it's like, no, just give me a little bit something different. Let me do it in a different way. Let me do it at home. Let me do it whatever. But like you can enjoy it in a new way. It does not have to light the world up.
Well, that actually does fit with the idea that AI might actually be the new thing. Like that's the thing that everyone is really trying to pivot to now because they were behind the 8 ball when Chat or Open AI and ChatGPT kind of took off. Like now Bing is trying to do one. Google wants to create one, and it threatens to disrupt industry almost. They're like, oh, how many jobs are going to be removed thanks to AI? I've been hearing a lot of different accounts of people's thoughts on AI. I don't think it's going to be that extreme where like steals people's jobs, but it does seem like it's going to change a lot of things going forward. The ways you can use it and the ways it can help you do sort of more mundane things.
Well, have you already had like news in Australia have been reporting about how students going in for tests, they actually don't know what to do anymore because kids can just use it and just cheat on their whole tests.
Right, because it can write an entire report for you. You say like write a 2-page report on The Great Gatsby, and it does that. One, it will 100% steal people's jobs. Just like every industry, like jobs will pivot. Jobs will no longer be writing copy; it will be editing the copy that the chatbot puts out because it won't be complete.
But in all honesty, is that not a better job? Like I write copy as a living right now.
Yeah.
Right. If someone else did that and I just edited it, that makes my job easier.
Right. Oh, it does make your job easier. To me, AI is so complicated.
It's so
it's a very complicated.
It's so complicated, and I have very complicated feelings about it because on one hand, it should make life easier, but on the other hand, the hellscape that we currently live in means that we'll have to have more and more part-time jobs in order to pay rent. Because we all want to live in Star Trek: The Next Generation utopia where like everything is wonderful and free and computers do things for us. But we're at the down point. Is your point here that AI, as far as video games are concerned, is going to be the hot new topic, or just technology?
I think not even tech, but like society. It feels like people are going to start using it to help them do whatever. Like, you want to write a new resume, you want to write a cover, you want to get an answer to a question that is a little more nuanced than like putting in something into like Google. Like it'll spit you back information or useful stuff. Like some people use it to help them write code and then they clean it up afterwards. People who struggle with writing code could use it to get better at that. So
Absolutely.
like I do know that there is the possibility that somebody's job will be replaced, taken over. Companies will absolutely look for how to do that. But I think like I've been convinced actually of this from other people that the best use of it, that the intended use of it at least, is for it to be a tool, just like any other technology.
Oh, of
Yeah,
course,
like
of
folks
course.
will make use of it, and it'll make their lives better
I,
overall.
I tested Chat GPT to see if it could take over my job as DM for Adventures Night, because I asked it to give me 5 funny names.
They couldn't have been as funny.
And it did. They were
Oh.
pretty good. But then I said, why are those names funny? And it gave me a lovely explanation on juxtaposition, and these are not normally associated with normal names. A lot of these are made up words that have a funny consonant vowel structure that are pleasing to the ear. It was a lovely paragraph on technically why it was funny. So I am 100% being replaced.
Maybe not yet, because the thing with AI currently, from my understanding, is it cannot make anything new. Like, it can only scrape data and piece it together.
It is an autofill, like Chat
It's an
GPT.
AI. It learns.
Right. Eventually
it's just text generation. That's all it does. Is it tries to find the next word that's going to fill in a sentence, but using the algorithm based off of what you asked it, right? What is learning something new rather than scraping old information? Like, this is a bigger metaphysical question, right? Like, but I guess, the point is, technologically speaking, it's a very interesting tool, and much like VR, right now, there's a lot that could be done with it, but I think AI will be implemented in more situations than VR will be.
And like it really like kind of matches up with what you were saying, Jesse. Like, it's not a new. I mean, not that VR like, because that concept has existed for a long time as well. But like, yeah, like this push for VR to be the next thing, and metaverses, like for you to work and play in a virtual space, so you can spend crypto and NFT in that space, blah blah blah. Like, own digital goods for whatever reason. Like, that's the push. But the actual thing, which is probably going to start to get pushed now because folks are onto it, is AI just kind of making your life a little easier. Like, sure, there's a scare of like, oh, new technology is going to replace all this. All of us robots will run McDonald's. But like, I've been waiting, honestly, for the world's revolutionized. Like Jack, I'm on the older side. But my changeover wasn't video games coming home; it was the internet coming home, right? Like, when I was a kid, there was no such thing as internet. It existed, but regular people didn't know what that was. That coming to the home changed the world.
Yeah.
So like, when is the next one? It's coming. I'm curious as to what it's gonna be. Could it be VR? Doesn't seem like it at the moment. It could be a metaverse. They want it to be. AI seems like the one.
It will not be VR.
Jack, it won't be VR. Okay. I thought you were going against AI.
It will not be. I will stake a claim on this mountain. VR will never, ever become popular in my lifetime. In my lifetime, VR, I guess with the one asterisk, as long as you still have a big bulky thing to put on your face, VR will never, ever be popular.
What about just like glasses?
Right. Once we get to that point, maybe.
So you're like an AR camp, like augmented reality. You think that? I mean, no one's really working on anything. Like, Microsoft was doing HoloLens. They tried to sell it to the military. They was like, fuck out of here.
The other thing to think about. Let's look at like VR versus AI in a communal space, right?
Okay.
Because humans are pretty communal, whether it's with a small group or a large group. Video games, TV, that is usually something that in some capacity you share with other people. Even if it's just, someone walks into the room and watches you play for a little bit, you pause or whatever. That is something that cannot exist in VR because you got a stupid ass thing strapped. You got a fart strapped to your face, right? So there is no longer that communal experience. With something like AI, that is theoretically adding to the communal experience, where you and someone have a question, so you type it into Google, now you type it into AI. You are working on a project together, you use AI as an assistant. Because it has that communal aspect to it, it is going to go along further.
It makes perfect sense. Like, so I'm team AI. Like, I know there's a little bit of pushback on it, especially in the art world, like all the generated images and how dangerous that can be in a world about
think they look that much
fake
better.
news or whatever. You don't think they look that much better? Some of that stuff is really before when Trump announced that he was going to be arrested, and they filled the internet with all these images of Trump running from the police. Did you guys see this?
I did see that, and I thought it was just a really good Photoshop.
Yeah, like I picked up on that, but it fooled a lot of people.
Well,
like, and of other people who weren't so
people
easily
are
fooled. But like,
idiots.
are these real? Like my fiance is a PhD. She's not an idiot, but she did ask me, "Are these real?" Because she wasn't sure.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, "Are these real?" Like she questioned it, but like some folks gotta ask.
All of those images have like, and you know they'll figure out a way around this. They have like a gloss. to them.
Yeah.
Like there's no. What is that thing called when something looks too realistic?
Uncanny Valley.
Thank you. Like it all has a gloss where it lacks the depth of a real camera, and they'll figure it out. Like they'll figure out how to make it look real, probably tomorrow. But no, it's good, and like that's the other side of this stupid AI coin that we need to figure out is if someone at a company can type in a thing to write copy, type in another thing to have a computer generated image, that is 4 jobs that is now 1 job. Right?
Yeah.
That's 4 jobs that's now 1 job, which in a perfect society wouldn't matter because everybody would be, happy and healthy and have some sort of like an income, like on the basic level, that would be some sort of universal thing.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It's we'll think of a better name for it later, but we have to deal with this reality that jobs are going to be lost because of this. 100% they will be. They're going to change, just like when cars came around, all the horse tenders had to leave and they got different jobs. It's always going to ebb and flow.
Like a lot of factory jobs and stuff, as the internet came around, had to be replaced.
Of course.
I mean, yeah, like that stuff does happen. There will be a cost to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, new stuff will be born as well.
Absolutely. Like you said with coding, like write me a code that does this. Now let's test it. Now I can learn how to test it while working with an assistant. Everyone gets a more level playing ground. That's fucking huge.
There's also a level of expectation versus reality in AI currently that people are really into kind of ignoring, where the losing jobs and complete automation, it's like, yeah, this was a scare when we made like a thing out of like a machine that ran like a clock, like that you could, this can do a thing, it will take over the world. Like the moment we make something, it's like, you know what it could do. It's like, yeah, maybe someday, but like expectations, especially with things, realizing how complicated things that we as humans can do, that it is really hard to get machines to do things.
That's right. Yeah.
And that I think because currently it's like, yeah, you can do some of this stuff and it looks good, or it reads well, but getting past the point of where we're going to really start removing lots of people to do this job.
Sure.
That has yet to be seen in a lot of ways. And I feel like we are expecting to get there very rapidly, and we could find
there's a lot
wall.
of impatience in the industry.
And like a huge thing with like again, the expectations of like CGI for things. Like go back and watch old movies with reviews talking about how lifelike the CGI is, and look at it now and be like, this is awful. We thought this was good, and that it's new and shiny then, and then very quickly you start noticing all the problems, and then you have to advance it, and you have to pivot to something else. And like AI may end up going that way, and it's not going to become the game changer that we think it's going to be.
And hilariously, then 50 years later, staying on the example of VFX, we turn around and go, practical effects still look so much better.
And there's a camp that definitely says that.
There's still those kind of moments where people do kind of look back and go, actually, like, this helps and this is useful and there's a lot of fun things we can do with it. But the old way still worked. Sorry, there was nothing inherently wrong or
Yeah.
bad about it. It
We're gonna
just-
we're
yeah.
gonna we're gonna have artisanal copywriters.
That's the
We
one.
write our
That's
copy.
the one.
The old way.
They don't even use spell check.
They're all gonna have curly mustaches.
Suspenders.
Don't worry, sir. I still use Photoshop. That's the next wave of hipsters. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the texters.
The textures.
I don't like that word. I'll take it back.
Oh no, keep it. That was good.
Yeah, no, it's in
It's
the
out
universe
now.
now.
It's
That's
out.
stuck.
Okay, so any other final thoughts? I thought that was a very lengthy conversation, but I do feel like it's wrapping up. However, if anybody has anything else they want to add to this conversation, feel free to do it now before we get to the end of the 100th episode.
It's free to sign up for Chat GPT, and it's kind of fun to play around with.
Yeah, fool around with, honestly,
Yeah,
because I've been hearing about it for a long time before I decided to do anything with it, and I was immediately impressed by what it could do.
Yeah, like go have a conversation with it. It's really weird. It's kind of fun, but also at the same time realize that it's the same thing that your iPhone is doing when it suggests the next word. Like that's
Yeah.
it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And like talk to you bots. I
Yeah,
was-
those have existed for a very
yeah,
long
like
time.
that's
Yeah.
freaking 2001.
It is a very good magic trick, but I mean it's a magic trick that's been around for a little bit. But it's a lot of fun, and play around with it. It's neat.
Like
Yeah.
it does kind of like, of course, it's going to have its own technological advances internally,
Yeah.
but how you use it determines how much you get out of it in a lot of cases right now.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, if you're at all interested, spend some time learning how to navigate it so that it can actually help you out, as opposed to be this thing that you're unfamiliar with and scared of.
Yeah.
Because I get what you're saying, Jesse. Like, let's not put all our eggs in this basket or whatnot. Let's not hype everything up as the new second coming. Even though I'm super excited just about tech in general, so I tend to do that or look forward to that sort of stuff. But like, don't get left behind either. Like, if it is a thing that is going to be important to the world, at least be familiar with it, as opposed to being like,
Oh yeah.
this will never work.
Yes.
or-
Yeah, AI is a tool, and like learn how to use it.
Right.
And like
exactly.
if you don't like it, all right, cool. You don't. If you learn how to use a hammer, awesome. It doesn't mean you have to use a hammer all the time. Like you rely on it, but now you know how to use it. You know what it does. Like as a tool, it's helpful.
Yeah. Like, learn how to type back when when computers first showed up. Like,
Learn
you
how to
could-
type.
You
with
could
a
be
hammer.
like, I'm not into computers, or you could go with it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not super into the AI stuff, one, because I'm just like, I can do it though. Like, I'm happy to do
Like,
it.
I can do it.
I understand how it works. I know how it works. I've had a lot of conversations about it, so I'm certainly not against it by any means. But all I'll say is I'm a group fitness instructor and a people manager, and you can't actually get rid of us. So hilariously, I am literally fine.
Yeah.
Like literally, no matter what,
You-
I am in roles.
you
where it
say
doesn't
that
matter.
Until you ask an AI to make a group fitness class, and then it borrows images and video from
No,
the
no,
AI.
no,
blah,
no,
blah,
no,
blah,
no,
and-
no.
Has the holographic teacher
like
going?
it scrapes video of literally you. It goes like,
Yeah.
oh, she knows what she's doing.
It can't correct technique. It can't
Yet.
do all of those
Yet.
things.
Yet.
It can't. It can't.
It can
And
take.
it also can't make you do the workout. A person standing in front of you can.
Ooh, there we go.
Like it literally can't make you do it. But
It
it's not
can
gonna be like,
take a 3D scan of
should.
someone while they're working out and tell them how to correct their form, but it can't
Yeah.
be there to hit them in the ass and make them do it.
Like, put them in a
Yeah,
chokehold
yeah,
because
they
they won't listen.
Literally.
Once we get hard light, then yeah, you can. You can have a
Yo.
hologram just whack them and
Just
be like,
hit you in the
yeah,
ass.
It's
yeah,
coming.
hit you right
Hard light.
You
on
heard
the
it
way.
here first.
Man.
Futures is computers hitting you in the ass.
Yeah.
Okay, I
That's
think
the present. I think too.
That is the present.
I think that will actually do it for the 100th episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Real quick, thank you so much, guys, for helping me do this. Jack, I'd love it if you join the show at some point in the future if you have the time. I know you're a very busy man.
You usually for me it's Sunday at 9 a.m. And I'm usually performing on Saturday night.
Sure,
So
sure,
I'm
sure, sure.
just waking up as you start streaming.
Sure,
Like,
so I 100% understand. But
if you want crabby, grumpy Jack on, oh, you give me a topic that I can complain about, I'll come on grumpy as shit.
we may have to take you up on that. We may have to take you up on that offer.
Absolutely, Casey.
Jesse, you've been doing this with me for a long time now.
Yeah.
So glad to have a familiar face that kind of knows how this functions. Glad you're still here, getting this this important work done. Because
Very much.
if we don't podcast, who will?
The
You know
AI
what-
won't.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Amy, from the very beginning when I first started doing the show, I wanted you on this podcast, but the time zones just don't match up.
The time zones are
So,
so bad.
It's so awesome that for episode 100 you can finally be here and in person on top of that.
I'm pretty excited, and I am so grateful that we were able to make this happen for episode 100. Like when we kind of realized that that's what it was going to be when we were here, I was just so delighted that the timing and everything was going to line up to actually make it.
It was very
happen.
weird that actually happened too, because like at some point I realized if I do every single show from this point until that trip, that'll be episode 100.
Yes.
So it was my duty, regardless of what the news was, regardless of how I felt, what I had to do the day before.
Yeah.
I'm doing a Sigma show to get us to 100 in Milwaukee. And it worked out. We did it. Like we didn't have many problems. Super proud of just this community that has been built around this. Half of you guys are from Escapist, half of you guys are from the Open Party. Some of you just find it randomly off of Twitch, but I hope you've enjoyed. The chat is an integral part of this show. Like since we started doing it, like we love that you guys show up and have questions and interact and have your own side conversations. That's all the stuff that makes this work. At episode 50, I was considering stopping because it's just a lot. You know, like I'm doing 100 other things. I don't get paid for this show. Like this is a labor of love, this podcast. So now to reach 100 and to honestly feel reinvigorated to keep going forward, like means the world to me. Like I love talking about video games. I love meeting cool industry people. So just thank you, everybody. Like this is literally like me doing what I've always dreamed to do as like a kid. Just talk about video games with really cool people. So with that, we'll sign off. Jack, where can people find you on the internet? If there's anything out there that you want them to see from you, what would that be?
No, nothing. I'm probably mostly on Twitter because I have a problem. So I'm at Harlack, Harlack, over on Twitter. You can hear me or see me play Dungeons and Dragons and talk about video games over at The Escapist. You can see me talk about very bad movies with Red Letter Media. Or if you're ever in Milwaukee, you can go to Comedy Sports and see me on stage, sometimes doing cartwheels. That's a real thing.
Ooh.
Nice. I do a pretty mean cartwheel. That's all I'm saying.
Jesse, where can folks find you? What do you have coming?
Amy's going to see me do a cartwheel.
A mean cartwheel sounds like you kick someone in the face while you're doing it.
I got a whole routine.
Wow. Rexicon Jesse on Twitch and Twitter, and my name Jesse Galena or Rexicon Jesse on YouTube. It'll show up either way. I'm not doing anything on those this week because I'm here in Milwaukee.
That's true.
Shooting Freaky Adventures Nigh Season 3, and I am so excited about that. So this has been an incredible trip. Thank you all. Like this is thank you all too. Like this is so freaking cool. And thank you for continuing to have me on.
Yes.
your show.
Anytime any of you guys want to be on the show, you can beat me before I ask you. It's like be like, hey, something happened in the news. I want to talk about it. Give me a slot. You're in there.
You're in. You're in.
So Amy, where can folks find you on the internet? Where can they find the content you make?
Where can you find the content I make? I don't make a whole ton of content because I do have a full-time job and a part-time job. But you can find me over on Twitter and Twitch. Handle there is SassQueenAmy, and I use Instagram a fair bit more recently, which is SassQueen_Amy. Some bitch thinks she's the real Sass Queen, and it's upsetting.
Wow.
It's upsetting. So anyway, SassQueen_Amy there. As the wonderful folks here have said, you can find us over on The Escapist doing wonderful, amazing things there. Plenty of streams, plenty of awesome videos such as Adventure is Nigh, which you should all check out if you're not already. Thank you so much, Casey, for having me on, and congratulations on 100 episodes.
Thank you.
That is absolutely phenomenal, and you should be so proud of that. Well done, and congratulations.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I am proud of this show. I'm not going to be modest. This is a good ass show.
Hell yeah.
In all honesty, there should be twice as many people watching, twice as many people listening, because this will be edited into a podcast as usual. Probably come out tomorrow rather than tonight because it's late here. But you can find me at SimGears9 on Twitch and Twitter as usual. Tomorrow there should be Super Smash Sunday with Superman Jeff. He'll be hosting, I believe so.
Superman Jeff.
Shout out to Jeff, who is another regular on this podcast. Also want to give a shout out to Omar. You can follow him at Mr. Yomars on Twitter if you like. He doesn't really use it, but follow him anyway. He helped me with the setup here so we can get this actually functioning.
Yep.
And he's kind of the backbone of like all of the production stuff over the Escapists. I've asked him
Literally,
for personal
We would fall
help
apart
with just
without him.
editing and photoshopping and stuff just throughout my entire time with the Escapists.
Omar
He's amazing.
does mad work behind the scenes,
Yes.
especially. Like, anytime I've been like, hey, I got an editing question, or like, do you ever, can I try this? Or like, what about, like, he is always there to help and answer. It has been outstanding.
Right. I have asked Omar in the past to be on the podcast, but I think that he's like busy in the morning or something like that. But if his schedule has changed, if he'd want to be in the future, because I asked him for this show as well, he's got work to do.
Yeah. He's
Omar-
he's the only one of us working when we all
Right,
should
yeah,
be.
we're all we're all sitting around doing this bullshit. Omar's getting shit done. Yassi's getting shit done as well. But anytime he wants to,
We can see you working.
he doesn't want to see. He doesn't want to see what he's working on.
I swear I just saw Omar like wave through the meat locker.
Oh, did you?
window. Just very subtle. Maybe
Yeah.
I was
Anytime he
staring.
wants to be on the show, he has an open invitation as well. So thanks to everybody in chat. We love you guys equally. That's going to do it for episode 100. There will not be a single show next week because I'm going to take a little bit of a break. We've been doing this very consistently for quite a while. And that'll be the weekend to come back from this trip anyhow. So I need a break. But I hope you guys will be back when we do resume, probably the week after that. That's it. Bye.
Bye.
See you next time.